Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to head down to Australia once again, and we're going to return to a brewery that has now featured on the channel quite a few times before. Now, I've had some really nice beers from these guys over the last little while. They are quite a new addition to their local beer scene, but they've built up a very good reputation for themselves. If people were to ask me about this brewery, I would say that they're best known for their different kinds of New England hazy, whatever you want to call them, IPAs, but also for their fruity, juicy, smoothie, modern, Nordic, whatever we're going to call them, sour beers. Indeed, that was the style category that I really fell in love with when it came to this brewery. They do a wide variety of other things as well though, but you don't come across those all that often in my experience. But the beer that we're going to have a look at today is a style that I've had from this brewery before quite a few times, one that I do really enjoy, and this one is supposed to be really very nice. So needless to say, I'm very curious to see what this beer is going to have in store for us. Hopefully it's another good beer, hopefully it makes for an interesting review, and as always, I hope that you guys watching enjoy my take on this one as well. So yeah, for this review then, we are going to head down to Australia like I said. We're going to go to the state of New South Wales, the city of Sydney, and the district of Botany to be precise. And that means that we're going to have a look at another beer from the wonderful Drop Brewing Company. So this particular beer is called Breaking Blues. It comes in at 8.4% ABV, and this one is an Imperial Smoothie Sour. So yeah, a couple of videos ago we reviewed the Calypso Blues, which was a kind of purple sour, I guess if we can call it that, berries and things like that. This one is most definitely going to be a yellow sour. So this is done with peach, banana, apricot and guava, and yeah, I couldn't resist this one because the first smoothie sour that I had from this brewery was a yellow sour, and yeah, I just love what this brewery does within that particular style category. So you'll see these guys featuring on the channel quite a lot over the next wee while, and they have been featured on the channel quite a lot already as it goes. But yeah, this should be very nice. The Breaking Blues, an Imperial Smoothie Sour from the wonderful Drop Brewing in Botany, Sydney, New South Wales, Australia. So as always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting though, just fast forward. All the usual links can be found in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Drop Brewing before, and we will definitely add more to that list at some point in the near future because I do love this brewery's beers like I said. But there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The support that you give is massively appreciated, and remember you can go into the channel homepage and search for beer using the geography tagging system. So just go in there, use the little search bar, put in your hometown, state, county, province, whatever you like. If I've reviewed beers from the area that you search for, they will pop up. Failing that though, you can check out the playlist of beers from different countries. You'll find this one in the Australian playlist along with a number of other things. That's being added to very regularly because we do get a good selection of Aussie beers here in Hong Kong, which I'm very happy about. And do make sure you check out the playlist of beers from other countries as well, because there are some very interesting things on the channel these days. But if you are particularly interested in Australian craft beer, then I recommend you check out my friend Sam Smalley over at Short and Stout Beer Reviews. He's got some really nice videos, and his channel's really starting to pick up some momentum, so make sure you check out the link to his channel in the video description below, and do go and show him some love. But yeah, let's go on to my brewery notes then, and I'll tell you a wee bit more about Drop Brewing once again then. So Drop Brewing, as I've mentioned to you already, are based in the Botany area of Sydney, very close to the airport, and the company was founded back in mid-2016, although they wouldn't open their doors till later in 2019. The four people behind this company are Clay Grant, Meg Barbitz, Nick Calder-Scholes and Liam Quinn. So Clay has a background in food catering, and he shared the idea with Meg, his wife, that he wanted to start a brewery, and she was very supportive of this, and she had worked quite a little bit with tech startups, and she liked the idea of them having their own startup company together. So Nick is originally from New Zealand, and he was actually the original head brewer at Garden Brewery in Zagreb in Croatia, and that's where he met Meg and Clay, who were on holiday visiting Meg's family. But Liam is Nick's best friend. He was in the army, but also had a lot of experience in the hospitality sector. So you can see that these four guys had quite a bit of experience between them of how to do everything. But Clay and Meg founded the company officially in mid-2016 when they designed the brand and started planning the company, and they actually sold their house to fund the venture, but they also decided to use a small portion of the money to go to Croatia, which was where they met Nick, and he would join their venture in 2018. They chose the name One Drop for the brewery because they thought, you know, a single idea can change the course of everything, and that's what they say happened to them with One Drop Brewing. So yeah, the brewery itself is located in an old paper mill, and they sourced their brewing equipment from the Canadian company DME, who I believe are now defunct if I'm not mistaken, but this included a 12 hectolitre brew kit and originally 6 24 hectolitre fermentation vessels. This has been scaled up quite considerably since then from what I understand, and they've also got a canning line from East Coast Canning over in the US. But like I said, over the last few years, this brewery have built up a very good reputation for themselves when it comes to the New England Hazy IPA style category, and the smoothie sours of course too. But as of September 2024, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced around 415 different kinds of beer according to Untappd. But yeah, that is everything I can really tell you about One Drop Brewing Company for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn a wee bit more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, can take a breath. So yeah, let's have a little look at the can of this one then before we open up. So as you can see, you've got some birds there having a wee fly about and stuff like that. I think the Calypso Blues was quite similar in its artwork to this one. I don't know if there was more in this kind of blues series of Imperial sours that they did, and maybe we only got 2 of them here in Hong Kong. But yeah, you can see the plain black top on the can there. This is of course a 440ml can. It's another beer that I picked up from the wonderful Gur beer in Chimshatri in the One Mall here in Kowloon in Hong Kong. But yeah, they've always got a good selection of One Drop stuff whenever it comes through. But like I said, an 8.4% fruited smoothie sour. They're saying with this one that we should roll it a little bit before we open up, so let's just do that on the floor, roll it back and forth. We'll do that. We'll turn it upside down, back up, once again, and there we are. So yeah, I think that should do it. But it says on the back here, Breaking Blues Fruited Smoothie Sour. We're taking big smoothie style sour vibes full of summer salad fruits worth the slurp. We're taking peach, we're taking banana, we're talking apricot, we're talking juicy guava, we're talking mango, all wrapped up with creamy lactose and a drizzle of honey on top. Whoa, holy smokes, summer slurping just got taken up a notch and a half. Toss one up, sit back and straw this thick puppy into your mouth. Sounds good to me. And yeah, as I say, I love these One Drop smoothie sours, so it's been quite cool to try the Calypso Blues, which was more of a purple kind of berry sour, as I would say. For me, there's 2 types of smoothie sours. You've got the red one, the kind of purple ones, and the yellow ones. So this one is going to be more along the yellow side of things. But yeah, 8.4% this one, Breaking Blues. Let's get it out into the glass and see how we go. This is going to be pretty good knowing One Drop Brewing, so let's do it. Look at that thing, look at that pour. It's just crazy. We'll leave a little bit of it in the bottom of the can just now, just so we can get a proper look at the aroma. But yeah, we've got the vast majority of it out and into the glass at this point, but you can see that head's still forming, but definitely at least a half finger of a frothy, I would say kind of apricot-y, peachy, tinted cream head there. Look at that. You can see that in this one. There you go. You just turn it round there. So yeah, you can see some medium-sized bubbles sitting on the surface of the liquid and a few foamier ones just as you go a little bit further up there. But yeah, the colour of this beer, I don't really know how to describe that in all honesty. It looks a little bit, it's kind of like vomit coloured almost, if we can say that. But yeah, it looks great, just like a mixed tropical fruit, kind of fruit salad type thing, this one. Yeah, so remember the colour of your beer depends on a few things. 1, the type of malts that you use. This goes a long way to determining your EBC rating. 2, length of your wort boil is going to play a role, because the longer you boil the wort, the more the sugars caramelize, and thus you get a darker colour of beer. But any barrel aging that you do or adjuncts you put into the beer will of course affect its colour as well. And particularly when it comes to the modern sour beers like this, that's potentially going to be your biggest factor, if you like. So yeah, much of the colour in this one will be coming from the mangoes, the guavas, apricots, banana and peach and things like this. I think peach is probably the one that's going to give it this slightly kind of darker tint out of all the stuff that's in there. But yeah, 1 or 2 bubbles sticking toward the side of the glass. You could see a few of them going up toward the bottom of the head there, but that head is just kind of fading away to be a sort of more thin foamy there, and you can see this beer is opaque as fuck basically. So yeah, there's no light coming through that at all, but it looks pretty much as you would expect from the smoothie sour style category, and we've seen things like this before from Drop Brewing. So yeah, not a surprise, something that I am very happy with, I have to say. So yeah, let's leave it at that for the appearance. I don't think we can really say too much more about that. Let's have a look at the aroma and see how we go. So it smells really nice. As I've often said, when it comes to these kind of modern smoothie sour type beers, very often they're very straightforward in terms of their flavour profiles and aroma profiles and things, but they're such nice beers to drink. You can't really knock these at all. I love trying these things, especially, I think I've got a little bit of plastic in it. What's that? Not sure. Just saw something, wee touch of plastic kind of floating on it there. But there we go, there we go. Yeah, a little bit of paper or something, strange. But yeah, as I say, the aroma of these beers and the flavour profiles of them are just great. They're just such nice beers to drink. This one, once again, it smells basically like a big fruity yogurt. If you think of like Petit Filou, Fromage Frais, something like this, that is basically what you're getting from these kind of beers, especially from Drop. But it gives you everything you'd expect. So you've got the big juicy fruitiness in there, you've got the big yogurty backbone. Once your nose kind of adjusts to the impact of those notes, you start to get the more subtle things like the little bit of bready malts and stuff like this. You've got that nice little bit of green placebo in this one too. And then yeah, you can smell the subtleties of all the different kind of fruity characters as well. So yeah, needless to say, beautiful, beautiful smelling beer, this one. Yeah, I do really like how this goes together for sure. Yeah, let's just break it down then and describe it for you a wee bit more in depth. So like I say, the most prominent component of this beer in the aroma is that kind of yogurty thing that it gives off. You've got that lovely big yogurty character coming out of it. But yeah, once your nose adjusts to that, you can definitely smell a little bit of a kind of white bready, fresh white bready bread crust in there. There's a little touch of wood in this one. There's a little bit of cracker and things like that. And yeah, the way that goes together, I think is really, really nice. So yeah, nice kind of white bready bread crust in this one. Nice little bit of Jacob's cream cracker, as I say. Quite a bit of woodiness coming out of this for sure, the more that I smell of it. But there's little elements of brown bread in there. There's little elements of white bread in this one for sure. And it's quite a sweet white bread. So brown bread, white bread, and then you've got a more dense kind of wheaty character in there. You can smell that more dense but quite smooth wheaty note out of the beer. As I've often said, wheat and oats and things like that will smell and taste a bit different depending on where they're from. Australia's got a hell of a lot of arable land, so I'm sure the Australians are producing a lot of their own malted wheat and malted oat and stuff like this. European oats, for example, are very creamy. American oats are a bit more porridgey. European wheat's a bit more kind of dry and bitey. American wheat's a bit smoother. Australian wheat and oats, I'm not 100% sure about. in all honesty, where their kind of subtleties are. But the wheaty, you can smell a more dense kind of wheaty character out of this one, and it comes across as very, very smooth, in all honesty. But yeah, lots of oaty character in this one as well, as you would suspect, and quite creamy oats at that as well. But you can definitely smell that this beer has a lovely kind of yogurty sort of character out of it. It's almost like a vanilla petit filou, fromage frais type thing. That's very, very obvious when you're smelling this beer. You can smell a little bit of the, was it maple syrup they said put in this one? You definitely get a wee bit of the a kind of brown sugary note out of this one. Honey, that was it. I would have actually guessed more maple syrup with it, in all honesty, because it's quite bright. But I mean, again, honey, depending on where it's from, it's going to come across a bit different. For me, you know, Scottish honey and Swedish honey is quite a little bit darker in its brown sugary character, whereas the brown sugary notes that are mixed in with this one are quite bright. But you do get that, you get the honey right enough, and you do get that kind of Werther's Original butter candy, butterscotchy sort of thing coming out of it. So yeah, the way, all in all, the way this one goes together, I think, is really very nice. So a big thumbs up from me. Yeah, where do we go with this then? I think after that, I think that covers everything with the kind of malty side of the beer. The yeasty side of the beer in the back of the nose, it's got a little bit of that kind of Skittles quality that you can very often get from these Imperial sour type beers, and you get it fairly often in New England, the higher ABV New England hazies these days too, which is kind of interesting. So yeah, definitely a little bit of that going on in this one for sure. So a wee bit of Skittles character in there, maybe a little bit of like a very slight vanilla sponge cake or something. But yeah, the yeasty side of the beer for me, bit brown bready, bit white bready, wee bit of vanilla sponge, and then that kind of Skittlesy type character coming out of the beer. So yeah, all in all, really quite interesting from that regard. But yeah, I think at that we should move on to the kind of hoppy and fruity side of the beer. So when it comes to the kind of modern smoothie sours like this, very often these beers don't actually have hops in them, and it's always interesting to talk to sour beer brewers about their hopping mentality. Back in the day when it came to the Flanders Reds and the lambics and stuff like this, what the Belgian brewers would do was put older hops into these beers that had lost a little bit of their alpha acid potency, so that the hoppy side of the beer didn't detract from the overall sourness of the beer. Many modern sour beer brewers that are putting fruit into the beer as adjuncts will argue that yeah, the fruit just suppresses the green component anyway, so there's no point in using hops. Very valid argument. But some brewers will put in a little bit of hop to these beers just to give you that slightly more complex flavour. It really just depends what you want to do. One Drop, as far as I know, don't tend to put hops in these smoothie sour beers, so yeah, you get a very smooth green component on the edge of your palate there. We should call it a placebo green component, but nevertheless you still get a wee bit of the aroma and a wee bit of the flavour that you would expect from hops being added into this one. So for me, I get a little bit of woodiness out of this beer, and I also get a good little bit of grassiness, and that's to be expected. So yeah, interesting stuff to think about when you're trying these modern sour beers. But these things are just like fruit smoothies. They're just like juice, basically. So easy to drink, but as I say, very, very enjoyable. So yeah, for me, the fruity side of this beer, you can smell a little bit of the banana, but I think the banana is almost kind of engulfed by the I think the banana's kind of engulfed by both the apricot and the mango. I think the mango and apricot are giving you the kind of juicier side of the beer, and the banana is obviously underneath, but then yeah, you've got the guava and the peach, which are giving you the kind of slight sharpness in the top of your nose. But yeah, the way that all of this kind of pieces together in this beer is really, really very, very nice. So it gets a big thumbs up from me in that regard. I do love how this just pieces together. So yeah, all in all, I do really like how everything just goes together in this one. I think this is going to be really nice. I mean, I've had many of these smoothie sour beers from One Drop, and I know I'm going to get a good beer out of them. But yeah, sometimes you still can be surprised. But as I always say, take a little bit of time to enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it. I think that's always half the experience when it comes to craft beers and sake and stuff like this. But yeah, it's about time to taste this one then. So yeah, this one is the Breaking Blues, an 8.4% Imperial Smoothie Sour with peach, banana, apricot, guava and mango from the wonderful Drop Brewing in Botany, Sydney, New South Wales, Australia. Let's get stuck in. Slàinte, skål, cheers. Yeah, that's pretty damn good actually. Very smooth, almost. And you can feel it's interesting, this one, because you can feel the brown sugar, the honey coming out of it later on, but you know, it gives you the big juicy fruity character, the big smooth kind of yogurty notes that you'd expect, then the wee bit of malty character just underneath. The way that all goes together, I think, is it's really nice. So massive thumbs up once again to One Drop for this one. I would say, I wonder, I'd be curious to try. These are the first Imperial, or these are amongst the first Imperial fruited sours that I'm trying from One Drop. The first one was like a Florida Weisse, an Imperial Florida Weisse. And then the last time we had a kind of red berry one. I do wonder, this one isn't quite as potent in its flavour as the Florida Weisse, so maybe these guys putting a little bit more kind of punch to the flavour on these yellow sours is what really makes them stand out. This one's a little bit more kind of subtle in that sense compared to what I've had from the more yellow sours from these guys before, so that's worth thinking about too. Yeah, so again, beautiful beer from One Drop, and that's absolutely to be expected, and it gives you everything you want. You've got that lovely big juicy fruity character in there, the big sort of smooth malty backbone, a little bit of dryness from that as well, wee touch of green component. It's just really nicely done. So yeah, where do we go with this one then? Yeah, on the, let's go to the middle third of the palette as we always do. So yeah, the base of that middle third of your palette, you get that nice little bit of kind of bready build up in the base. So you've got that wee bit of kind of fresh white bready bread crust in there. As you move further forward from that, there's a wee touch of like woody. Yeah, there's a wee touch of woody character for sure. So yeah, a little bit of that woodiness in there, and the wood almost has a little bit of vanilla to it, and you get a wee smattering of like Jacob's cream cracker sort of quality out of this one. So yeah, there's a wee bit of that, and then above that there's a tiny little layer like brown bread, tiny little layer of white bread, and then above that you've got this really thick and quite, well, not tall, but you've got this really dense, like yogurty type character coming out of the beer. So yeah, that mix of wheat and oat is giving you this big sort of petit filou, fromage frais kind of yogurty character that you very often find in these beers. And that is the yeah, that is the kind of predominant part of the yeah, that's the predominant part of the flavour of this beer actually. So yeah, the way that goes together is really nice in this one. But above that kind of big, like really dense yogurty sort of, within that you do get quite a little bit of like almost vanilla like flavour. And then I would say above that, in the middle of your palate, you've got this little circle there, and that's where you get the kind of Werther's Original butter candy, butterscotchy type flavour coming out of the beer. And that obviously at 8.4%, that's going to be down to the boozy content of the beer. But at the same time, as you go down that middle line of your palate, you can feel there's a little bit more of a, yeah, there's definitely a little bit more of a kind of, yeah, there's a little bit more of a kind of the honey character coming out of this one. Like, you know, it's very slightly kind of toasty and things like that. So yeah, that's quite interesting. You feel the honey side of the beer just going down the middle line of tongue. Then yeah, in the dead centre, you've got that Werther's Original butter candy, butterscotchy sort of thing. Maybe the tiniest little hint of biscuit in this one as well. So yeah, the way that that goes together is really nice in this one too. Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, so where do we start with yeah, where do we start with I think that's everything we can say about the middle third of your palate in this beer. Let's go to the back third of the palate. As I've often said, sweeter flavours come out further forward on the palate, more dry and bitter flavours come out further back. But yeah, the back third of your palate's very often going to give you similar flavours to the middle third of your palate, just at different intensities. But yeah, the border region between middle and back third of your palate, you get that nice little bit of kind of bready build up in there. You can feel the little bit of brown bread in the base, the white bread on top of that. Then it's almost like a kind of vanilla sponge cake type quality that sits on top of that. And I will say, you do get more of this kind of sponge cakey vanilla type quality out of this beer the more that you drink of it. But yeah, the base of that back third of your palate is yeah, definitely you've got that kind of white bready fresh bread crust in there. Above that you've got a more kind of Jacob's cream crackery type character, wee bit of wholemeal brown bread out of it, then more of a kind of white bready character there, and then again, yeah, you've got this more like vanilla sort of sponge cakey quality, and then above that you can feel the drier side of the yogurty layer, like the oats and the wheat and stuff like that, just kind of creeping over the top of the malty side of that back third of your palate. And then it's all about the yeast above that. So let's have a wee look at those yeasty flavours. Yeah, so for me, the yeasty side of this beer, it's kind of like a sweet brown bread in the middle. It's could almost be like a little bit like honey bread or something like that. So like a sweet sort of brown bread in the middle. Then you can feel a kind of vanilla sponge around the edge, and then it's got a wee bit of a kind of citrusy type thing around the very edge of it. So yeah, the way that all of that kind of goes together on the yeasty side of things is quite nice, and it just gives you this little bit of sharpness at the back of the palate there, which is kind of interesting, whereas the rest of the malty and yeasty side of things is actually quite smooth and just very slightly sweet, a little bit more dry and sweet. But definitely, yeah, back third of your palate you can feel the flavour is taller, then as you move into the middle third of your palate it goes down and condenses together that little bit more, as you would expect. But yeah, on the hoppy side of things then, or the green component, like I said, just from the flavour of this one, you can kind of tell there's no hops in this. It's all placebo, but still, you do get some of these flavours. There's a very slight earthiness in there. Then as you move further forward from that, it gives you a little bit of, it gives you quite a little bit of woodiness as you come further forward. But then, yeah, some nice big floral aromatic notes. As you you do get this big kind of floral aromaticity as you move further forward. So yeah, nice little bit of floral aromaticity there as you reach the front curve of the tongue, you reach the front corners of the tongue. Then yeah, around the front curve of the palate, definitely that little bit lighter and more sort of grassy. But yeah, the fruity component of this beer, the fruity adjuncts definitely kind of suppress the what would be the green component as well. But yeah, let's go to the kind of front third of your palate then and just talk about the actual fruity side of the beer. So yeah, border region between front third and middle third of your palate. Again, you get that little bit of kind of bready build up, the brown bread in the base, the white bread on top, then that sort of vanilla spongy type character and a wee touch of the yogurt at the top. But the base of that front third of your palate, it's definitely, yeah, kind of brown bready bread crust, the brown bread, the white bread, and then you get the kind of big yogurty layer, and then the fruit sits on top of that. You've got a little touch of you've got a little touch of like banana in the base there, so the banana's kind of giving you a wee bit of the dryness from the fruit, but then above that, yeah, it's all about the kind of apricot and the mango, I would say, for sure. So yeah, it's kind of layered. You've got the banana underneath, and then the apricot and the mango just kind of sitting together. I think the mango sits further back and the apricot comes out further forward, but then above all of that, you've got the guava and you've got the peach. And I think the peach and the mango are giving you the more juicy characters into the aftertaste, but the peach and the guava are the ones that are giving you the sharper notes on the impact. I think that's probably a fair way to describe this one. But yeah, the way that all of that goes together in this beer is very, very nice. And this is another really, really damn solid smoothie sour beer. So it gets a massive, massive thumbs up from me. Quite different from the other ones I've had in this category from Drop Brewing before, actually. It just comes across a wee bit different. Maybe it's just my palate adjusting to these and being a bit more used to them, if you like, now. But yeah, definitely cool to try a yellow Imperial smoothie sour from these guys. So yeah, try these if you get the chance. These are very, very good. But yeah, I think we can round off this review with a wee quick look at the mouthfeel. So for me, this beer, definitely, yeah, kind of mid-range, full-bodied. The carbonation is virtually non-existent in this one. It's a very smooth, kind of creamy sort of mouthfeel. And then, yeah, you've got a really nice little bit of, I would say, there's no bitter. I mean, yeah, I would say it's just like a kind of creamy mouthfeel, but you do get a slight little bit of oiliness into the aftertaste for this one too. In terms of the IBU and things in this one, technically this beer will be 0 IBUs, I'm sure, but there is just a little bit of dryness and bitterness into the aftertaste. There's a little touch of that going on. But yeah, in terms of the malty character in this one, it's a wee bit dry underneath, smooth in the middle, and lovely smooth and creamy and slightly sweet on top. Then yeah, you've got that big juicy fruity character in there. This one is not going to blow the head off you in terms of sourness and things like that. It's just got a little bit of sharpness to it, and then a lovely kind of juiciness and things into the aftertaste. But yeah, another beautiful, beautiful beer from the guys at One Drop, and I'm not surprised about how good this beer is. So as I say, big thumbs up from me, and I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink this again, although probably I would try some of the other stuff because they're always pumping out new things. But yeah, let's leave it at that. This one was the Breaking Blues, an 8.4% Imperial smoothie sour with banana, apricot, mango, peach and guava from the wonderful One Drop Brewing in Botany, Sydney, New South Wales, Australia. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from One Drop Brewing as well. And pardon me, we will no doubt return to these guys again at some point in the very near future. Until then, check out my social media, check out their social media, and I'll see you guys again soon. Slàinte, skål, and cheers.